but then it turns increasingly warm, humid and potentially thundery for some of us as we end the week ahead.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
We're kick-starting summer with your chance to win our biggest cash prize to date, as there's an incredible £54,321 in tax-free cash to be won. What would you spend it on? A brand new car, the holiday of a lifetime, or just sit back, relax and remove some of those day-to-day financial stresses? For a chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world. Am I allowed to talk now? No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Andrew Pearce. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's 9 p.m. I'm Ben Leo. Tonight,
deployed active duty U.S. military and National Guard troops to the border to assist in repelling the invasion. It was
war on the invaders. More than 120 illegal migrants were arrested all across California, and President Donald Trump deploys 2,000 members of the National Guard to Los Angeles to quell violent protests. Will that be next in Britain? Also tonight.
Oh, we're out in Benidorm in March. Look at the weather, beautiful weather.
Now, he looks like he was having the holiday of his dreams back in March, but now a British pensioner has been left raging after her own holiday to Benidorm became a chaotic mess because there were too many Spaniards in the resort. The big question tonight is, are Brits abroad entitled? Also,
Bakerloo line is absolutely riddled with graffiti. Well, not anymore.
GB News' very own Tom Harwood has taken to the London Underground to clean up the tube's growing graffiti problem. But why is London Mayor Sadiq Khan not doing anything about it? And the Darlington nurses, who formed their own union to defend the rights of women, have won a landmark battle for a female-only changing room. Plus,
how dare you? You have stolen my dreams and my childhood with your empty words.
It never gets old, does it? Greta Thunberg is part of a group sailing international waters under a British flag to deliver aid to Gaza. But the Israelis have given a stern warning for her to stay the hell away. Joining me on the panel tonight is the businessman and activist Adam Brooks, political commentator Chloe Dobbs and the former Labour Minister Bill Rammell. And our British coppers are making headlines again. You'll never guess what happens next. A big 2 hours coming up, including the first of tomorrow's newspaper front pages. But first, let's get your news headlines with Sam Francis.
Very good evening to you. The top story tonight. National Guard troops are now on the streets of Los Angeles, setting up outside federal buildings after days of unrest in the city over immigration raids in predominantly Latino neighbourhoods. Donald Trump, the president, has ordered 2,000 troops into the city, saying protests that block immigration enforcement constitute a rebellion. They'll be deployed for 60 days, with the Defence Secretary making the final call on their presence. California's governor, though, has slammed the move as inflammatory, while Democrats say it's authoritarian overreach. But some Republicans insist the troops are there to stop tensions spiralling. Meanwhile, the fallout between the President Donald Trump and Elon Musk is fueling fears over deep cuts to NASA's science programme. The White House is proposing slashing NASA's budget by nearly a quarter, with critics warning it could be the agency's worst crisis in decades. Trump has threatened to withdraw contracts with SpaceX, which NASA relies on to reach the Moon and Mars. Space experts say vital climate and planetary missions could also be scrapped and warn the space programme is being, they say, repurposed for flags, not science. More than 60,000 NHS appointments were cancelled during just 5 days last summer, including many for cancer patients. Figures seen exclusively by GB News reveal that 63,000 procedures were scrapped during July strikes, including vital biopsies and X-rays. The Health Secretary Wes Streeting is now urging doctors to reconsider further strike plans, warning the disruption risks delaying life-saving diagnosis. Israel's defence minister has vowed to stop an aid flotilla carrying Greta Thunberg and other activists from reaching Gaza. The vessel, Madeleine, operated by the Freedom Flotilla Coalition, left Sicily last week. They say they aim to break Israel's naval blockade and deliver humanitarian aid. However, Israel Katz said no boat will be allowed through and called the blockade essential to stop arms from reaching Hamas. It comes as tensions are high after a previous flotilla attempt was struck by drones in international waters. And Sir David Attenborough has urged urgent action to save the world's oceans. He told Prince William, "We must act before we destroy this great treasure."
The thing which I am appalled by when I first saw the shots that were taken for this film are what we have done to the deep ocean floor.
Well, the pair was speaking after a private screening of Ocean, a new documentary narrated by Sir David Attenborough that exposes the damage from overfishing and deep-sea trawling. Prince William, who calls Attenborough his inspiration, will address world leaders at a marine summit and urge urgent, optimistic action. The film supports protecting 30% of marine areas by 2030, a goal that both men say could help the oceans to recover. Those are the latest headlines for now. Do stay with us for plenty more right here on GB News.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Evening, hope you're well. Thank you for your company. What do you reckon happens when a country cannot protect its own borders? Parts of the United States are burning tonight simply because the president wants to remove people who arrived in the country illegally. President Donald Trump has deployed 2,000 members of the National Guard to Los Angeles to quell violent protests after 2 days of clashes between demonstrators and riot police. And if you're watching on television, you can see some of the action now. People who support criminality converged on a federal immigration facility that the local mayor said was being used by agents who conducted workplace raids. The raids have been targeting mostly Latino areas of the city, sparking protesters to wave Mexican flags on the streets as they burn down cars and buildings. Donald Trump, of course, has been called a wannabe dictator and an authoritarian, but the truth is he's kicking out illegal criminals, criminals being the correct definition because they broke into the United States illegally. He's doing exactly what he said he'd do during the election campaign.
I'm also taking swift action to stop the invasion at our southern border. They allowed people to come in at levels that nobody's ever seen before. It was ridiculous. I decided and declared to do, and very, very importantly, a national emergency on our border, immediately halted all entry of illegal border crossers, of which there were many, and began promptly returning the illegal trespassers back to the place from which they came. That action, as you've probably seen, has already started very strongly. I've deployed active duty U.S. military and National Guard troops to the border to assist in repelling the invasion.
Well, he's sticking to his word, isn't he? Because more than 120 arrests of illegals have been made across LA in recent days in what the far-left governor of California, Gavin Newsom, has described, for some reason, as cruel. I'm not sure how deporting illegal criminals is cruel, but that's the radical left for you. Vice President J.D. Vance summed up the riots eloquently. He said insurrectionists carrying foreign flags are attacking immigration enforcement officers, while one half of America's political leadership has decided that border enforcement is evil. Time to pass President Trump's beautiful bill and further secure the border. And just to add to that, the White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller, a character in his own right, also nailed it, adding, "Deport the invaders or surrender to insurrection. These are the choices." What's clear now is that all across the West, sovereign nations are fed up of the invasion of their borders. I don't think these scenes will be confined to the United States. If and when a British government commits to mass deportations too, just like America, you can bet your bottom dollar they won't be going home without a fight. Well, let's get the thoughts of my panel now. The political commentator Chloe Dobbs, former Labour Minister Bill Rammell, and the businessman and activist Adam Brooks. Chloe, good evening. Indeed, good evening to all your panel. What do you make of these scenes in the US, and is it a warning sign for Britain and the rest of the West?
I think it definitely is a warning sign for Britain. I mean, we already saw some rioting happen last summer. I saw some shocking videos from what's going on in Ireland just over the weekend. Lots of riots and chaos happening there with regards to immigration. I mean, in this case, this is people in favour of illegal migration rioting on the streets, which just goes to show it's not just far-right thugs that get up to that sort of nonsense.
Good point.
And I think good on Trump for showing, you know, we're in charge now. You're not going to get away with this kind of nonsense on the streets, and really showing Gavin Newsom, sorry, I am the President of the United States. Illegal migration is not something we're going to tolerate, nor people rioting in favour of it. Yeah, and these are live pictures now. If you're watching on television at home, my audience, these are live pictures from Los Angeles right now. Riot police, I think, that we can see on Vision now, but also the National Guard have been deployed, as mentioned as well. Adam, what do you make of all this? Do you take sort of pride and courage to see a president of the West or a leader in the West deal with this problem?
He said what he was going to do before the election, and that is what he's doing. You can't argue that. Now, let's also remember that I think 42% of the Latino population in America voted for Trump. There's many honest, hard-working Latinos that do not want people going to America illegally and taking their jobs and putting their family at risk. It's the same here with people coming across the channel. We don't know their histories, and, you know, it is putting the public in danger in many instances. At the end of the day, Antifa are one of the most... they should be a terrorist group because, look, they mask up. I've dealt with Antifa in London. They're vile people that pretend they're on the good side, but they're not. They're evil. They targeted my business when I confronted them. They're violent. They will be whipping this up here, and it won't be mostly Latinos. It'll be the far left. The far left seem to want to side on the side of criminals and not patriots or people that love their country.
Adam, be careful, because you might get put on a prevent watch list for that kind of rhetoric.
Or called far right again by Bill.
I'm interested to hear that you can call someone far left, but you can't call them far right.
Well, people that mask up and cause violence are far left.
Take it, Adam.
OK.
Bill, is it cruel, as per Gavin Newsom, to deport illegal migrants?
No, it's not. And if you've got no asylum status or failed asylum status, then you should be removed from the country. And I support legal action to do that. What concerns me, however, is that this is performative conflict by the Trump administration. He's got a track record on this. Back in 2019, he was going to target 2,000 illegal immigrants. Actually, only 35 were removed from the country. It's not clear what the legal basis for this action is, and there is evidence that it's not just targeting illegal immigrants, that actually people who are just protesting or American citizens are being locked up as well. And there's also...
But I think if you go down burning cars down and buildings and so on, then you deserve to be locked up, no?
Yeah, but there's evidence that people who've not been doing that have been locked up. And the courts and the legal process needs to run its course. But also, there is not a read across from here to the United States. There's a world of difference. Researching this afternoon, I discovered there's something called sanctuary cities in the US, which means that those cities effectively do not cooperate with the federal immigration authorities. There's nothing remotely like that within this country. So I think an automatic read across is not.
Well, do you know who organises those sanctuary cities? It's the Soros-funded DAs, the district attorneys, and all the Democrat activists who have quite literally taken the law onto their own hands. They ignore the federal laws and instructions, and they just do what they want, and they go after their enemies and their adversaries using the lawfare and whatever else, and they do what the hell they want.
You shouldn't be able to disapply from the federal government regulations. But the other point is, this is the first time in over 60 years that the National Guard has been brought in without the support of the local governor. And if you're going to have cohesive legal processes, I don't think that's a good move.
Adam?
No, I was just going to say, Bill said there's many Americans that are caught up in these protests amongst the violence, yet last summer there were peaceful protesters amongst the so-called rioters in the summer, and the left seemed to want everyone locked up that was involved in the protests and so-called riots there. So there's a lot of hypocrisy going on.
Well, judges even said during Southport last summer, judges said if you were simply observing on the sidelines, if you were just there not doing anything, if you were just standing on the sidelines observing, you would be getting...
and you were involved. But in this case, Bill doesn't seem to think these people were involved.
I think the law should apply. And my real concern about this is it's performative, it's deliberately trying to drive conflict, and it is not clear what the legal basis is for that.
I think a few batons over the head of anarchists is a good thing, and might put a few more coming onto the streets.
We're your judge, jury and executioner, Adam.
Well, if you've got a mask on...
That would be.
So you're right that it's very rare for the National Guard to be brought in when the governor has not agreed to it. I think that's probably just because in most cases where you've got chaos on the streets and violence, the governor would probably agree. Now, Trump has used a law that says if there is a rebellion against the authority of the United States government, you are allowed to bring in the National Guard. I agree that they should only be taking action against people who are genuinely being violent, and it's very important that they don't cross the line into taking action against people who are exercising their right to free speech and just holding up a placard. But I think he has made sure that he's used a power that he is able to employ here. And I think it's quite frankly really embarrassing that Gavin Newsom has said that it's cruel to arrest 120 people and doesn't want the National Guard to be brought in and to have law and order in California. He's not in favour of keeping Californians safe. He's not in favour of keeping them safe from random criminals coming across the border. And then look what happened with the fires last year.
Look, Newsom has also said that there is no deficit in local forces to enforce the law, but Trump has deliberately chosen to bring in the National Guard for the first time in 60 years against the wishes of the local governor. And I think that's
it's a statement. It's a deterrent. If you want to go running around the streets of America with a balaclava on, covering your face, all dressed in black, you deserve a baton over the head, in my opinion.
Adam, would you like to see... do you ever envision a UK government behaving like this in the future? Mass deportations, getting tough, kicking doors down, getting rid of people who shouldn't be here?
No, not in the next few years. Reform will be a next step to change.
I mean, even Reform have been accused of being a bit lacklustre.
They will be better. Farage is explicit. He's not in favour of mass deportations.
Well, he's not going to have a choice in a few years' time because things are going to get so bad under this government. But one thing I do fear is that, if we brought in our sort of heavies, our National Guard, that it would be used against people on the right and not on the left. That's what happens in this country. The big dogs don't come out when the left riot and they cover their faces. It's just normal plod. But if someone like Tommy Robinson goes up London, suddenly it's the biggest coppers with the biggest batons.
There's a definition of paranoia, and I think I'm seeing it before me.
That's two-tier policing, Bill. It's evident.
There's not two-tier policing in this country.
It's evident, Bill.
Do you think it is, Chloe?
Of course there's two-tier policing in this country. I mean, it's bonkers that you've got the police, for example, going and knocking on the door of a pensioner who puts up a sticker saying that men shouldn't be in women's bathrooms. But then, yeah, as you say, people like Antifa and whatnot, they can get up to whatever they want. You can have people chanting in favour of Hamas on the streets.
And if you're black, you're 5 times more likely to be arrested with force than if you're white in this country.
But why is that? Does anyone know?
Well, in London, Bill,
it's not backed up.
In London, Bill, if you're black,
gangs.
you're 62% more likely to stab someone than someone that's white, and the stats back that up. So
it's like
horses for
like
courses.
Who think that stop and search is racist because more black people happen to be stopped. Yeah, they also have to be way more likely to be carrying a knife.
OK. I don't think the stats back that. But
they do 100% back that up, Bill.
OK, if you're watching on television and you've seen any you have to be very eagle-eyed to see this, but if you've seen any graffiti on the walls of LA there, which may have upset you, I'm sure it wouldn't have, but if you did, apologies for that. Anyway, let's move on. We're counting down to your best summer so far. It's the latest edition of the Great British Giveaway. Your chance to win £54,321. Yes, 54321 in tax-free cash. Here's all the details you need to win.
We're kick-starting summer in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 with your chance to win our biggest cash prize to date, as there's an incredible £54,321 in tax-free cash to be won. What would you spend it on? A brand new car, the holiday of a lifetime, or just the chance to sit back, relax and remove some of those day-to-day financial stresses? £54,321 in tax-free cash has to be won. For a chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
All right, good luck to you. We're going to go back live to LA very briefly after the break because the National Guard, I think, have just turned up. Tensions are rising. There are now fears that we could have a repeat of the riots from 1992 in LA. These are live pictures now. I mean, what time is it over there? It's sort of 2, 3 in the afternoon. I dread to think, I hope it doesn't happen, but I dread to think what may happen when night falls in Los Angeles. This is the 3rd day of these riots, and you have to say it does risk boiling over. So we're going to go back to LA live after the break, and shortly after that as well, one British pensioner, in a separate story, this will make you laugh, says her Benidorm holiday was ruined, get this, by too many Spanish people. So the big question is, are Brits abroad entitled? That's our head-to-head in just a tick.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. That's State of the Nation every Monday and Tuesday at 8 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Beth.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie's here.
I'm Michelle Duke, Britain's News Channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's News Channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's News Channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/your-say. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
At GB News, we are proud to stand for you, for the Britain you love, for the communities you live in. That's what makes us the fearless champions of Britain. Its voices and its values. Because we, at GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Ben Leo's Tonight. Let's go back live to LA, where the situation on the riots seems to be escalating. Troops sent by President Donald Trump, the National Guard, have arrived in Los Angeles with more immigration raid protests expected. This comes off the back, of course, of 2 days of immigration raids, predominantly on Latino areas of the city. Donald Trump, of course, during the election campaign, promised he would rid the country of illegal migrants, and it seems to be ramping up in the city now. Defence Secretary Pete Hegseth has also said tonight that active duty Marines are on high alert and that he will use them against the public if violence continues. Earlier this evening, President Trump addressed the protests on his Truth Social network, saying that the riots and looters would be dealt with the way it should be solved, and that's with the National Guard. However, California Governor Gavin Newsom, Donald Trump calls him a far-left radicalist. He's called the move purposefully inflammatory and warns that by sending the National Guard against California's wishes, by the way, this is a federal decision against Gavin Newsom's wishes. Gavin Newsom has said that it would create chaos. We're going to keep up with this story as the hour goes by, so stick with us. But for now, and again, apologies if you saw any swearing on the walls there. Let's move on to our head-to-head. You're going to love this, I do. A British pensioner was left raging and in tears, in fact, after her holiday to Benidorm because she said there were too many Spaniards at her resort. She had the expectation of being surrounded by fellow tourists during her trip to Benidorm. However, she explained that the hotel was full of native holidaymakers instead from Spain. This comes as another disgruntled Brit slammed a tourist hotspot in Greece for serving no English food. Just earlier this week, a clip of 2 British women fighting in the streets in Tenerife. Here it is on your screen. Dear, oh dear. Few too many drinks. Yeah, it went viral. So the big question tonight is, are Brits abroad entitled? Well, I'm joined now by the comedian Nicholas DeSanto and the senior academic and author Lisa Mackenzie. Good evening to you both. Thanks for joining me. Lisa, hope you're well. Nice to see you. What do you make of this? Are Brits abroad entitled?
No, of course they're not. Brits abroad, they've saved up all year. You know, many of us, you know, we're saving all year for a 2-week holiday in the sun. We go on holiday. Yeah, we have a bit of a laugh and a bit of a joke. What you've seen on the, you know, you see that in any town or city in Britain on any Saturday night. I don't think there's anything entitled about saving your money up all week, then going on holiday and then having a good time. And I'll tell you what, for those of us out there who has been to Spain, if you want to talk about entitled, let's think about what the Germans do with the beach towels on the sun lounges in the morning. They do that. So I'd say they are more, you know, we're not entitled.
I'm with you on that. The Russians do it as well, actually. But Lisa, just before I come to you, Nicholas, Lisa, this lady was saying, I've gone to Benidorm, there's too many Spanish people there. I mean, of course there's going to be Spanish people. It's Spain, for goodness sake.
I know, but I was quite perplexed about that. I didn't think any Spanish people actually went to Benidorm.
Oh, no, I
thought
didn't.
Benidorm was. I thought Benidorm, it's got, if you look at it, English breakfasts everywhere, buy one get one free's everywhere. Sticky Vicky for those of us who know about it.
What's a Sticky Vicky?
I'm not going into.
Oh, right.
You know what Sticky Vicky is.
Honestly, Lisa, I don't. I really don't. I'll have to Google it. Nicholas, what's your take on all this?
Well, I thought the worst the Germans are capable of is going with sandals, in socks, and ordering cappuccinos beyond 11 o'clock, which are two big no-nos in Italy. But, the famous poet, I think it was Samuel Johnson once said, a man who is tired of London is tired of life. And in Italy, we say, a man who was tired of London and all his buddies who were also tired of London have snapped up all affordable properties in Tuscany, effectively pricing us out of our own hometowns. And that's the best of the things that can happen to you. And then we have some of these shabby tourists misbehaving, creating nuisance, and that is a reputational damage for the whole Brits, because when you go overseas and you say Britain, people usually think about the royal family, Downton Abbey, James Bond, and that's a good thing, isn't it? It's all about branding. But then we see these disgraceful scenes and problems in the streets and fighting and all that, and even the arrogance to expect the Spain to be not full of Spaniards, it beggars belief.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think, Lisa, sorry, I don't think I can defend the comment about there being too many Spaniards. I just can't. I don't know what to say about it.
I don't know what to say. I'm quite surprised, actually, that Spaniards go to Benidorm for their holidays. I am surprised about that, because Benidorm is a resort that is absolutely catered and pointed at the British public. So, and I don't think, let's not be glib about this. The British go abroad regularly. They spend a lot of money. Their money and their tourism dollars, are always quite welcome, when we go away. I was in Spain last week. I was in Madrid. I didn't get into any fights. I didn't do any. I just went to Madrid. I had a nice time, spent my money and came home. So I don't think we should be too glib about this. The British go abroad. They're very friendly. You can't deny that. We're very friendly.
Yeah.
And yes, sometimes we get up to a bit of mischief.
Yeah, Nicholas, I think you guys on the continent should be a bit more grateful to Brits because, we don't have to come to your lovely lands and eat your lovely food. We can just go to Skegness or Bognor and have equally as much fun,
Well, have at it, for all I'm concerned. I think I'm all in favour of also exploring beautiful British resorts and beach areas. I've been to Clacton myself. I've been to Margate. I've been to Brighton. Yeah, absolutely. And it's sad because of the low-cost flights, those areas have become a bit abandoned. That's true, but spending good money in touristy areas doesn't mean people own them. Of course, we need to have a decorum and we need to behave properly. Otherwise, Italy and Spain or France, for that matter, these are all popular places. They're going to have tourists from elsewhere as well. But I think when you are a tourist, you are also an ambassador for your country. And then you get into trouble. There was a time when I believe it was Merseyside police that they had agents on flights that went to Prague because of the stag do's that misbehaved. We've had terrible cases in which some of these British tourists or travelers go to dodgy places or behave so wrong that they get incarcerated and it costs the taxpayer money. The Foreign Office has to bail them out. Just look at Bridget Jones getting nabbed in Thailand. It costs British taxpayer money because then the Foreign Office has to allocate resources to get them free.
Yeah, all right, good point. Lisa, last word to you.
I just think, the holiday season's coming, hard-working Brits, they're all over the country now, really looking forward to the holidays. Yeah. 99% of them get into no trouble at all, very welcoming and very sort of cheerful to go on holiday. Let's just look at the weather today. We've got to do something.
Yeah, and do you know what? As Millwall fans would sing, everyone hates us, but we don't care. And somebody on your say has just said, Ben has just Googled Sticky Vicky. Oh, I have, and I wish I didn't. So thanks for that, Lisa. Lisa McKenzie, thanks very much. Nicholas DeSanto, appreciate your company. Very, very good. Let's poke our head back to LA, where the US National Guard troops have begun to deploy in the downtown of the city. That's after President Trump's crackdown. These are live pictures from LA now. It's the early afternoon in Los Angeles. I've said in the last couple of minutes or so that I do fear what will happen as nighttime falls in LA, because the National Guard are there now. The Republicans and the Democrats are firing off pretty much insults against each other, calling it an escalation. Donald Trump saying that there's looters and thieves and they'll be dealt with. Pete Hegseth, the Defence Secretary, saying that there are US Marines ready on standby to go head-to-head against members of the public who wish to cause trouble. So I just wonder what will happen in the next few hours or so. And of course, if you've just tuned in, this comes off the back of President Donald Trump's immigration raids in the city, not just LA, but predominantly LA, and indeed in Latino areas. So he's sticking to his pledge to get rid of illegal migrants, and this is why we've got protests, cars being burnt down, buildings being burnt, and so on and so on. OK, let's move on. GB News presenter Tom Harwood, he's been busy on his weekend off. He's been taking to the London Underground to clear it of graffiti. Why the hell isn't London Mayor Sadiq Khan doing this? It seems GB News, once again, is doing the authorities' job for them. That's next.
Be nice to escape the grey.
Clear skies, here we come.
As clear as our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
High pressure is in charge for much of Europe over the next couple of days, bringing plenty of dry, warm and sunny weather. However, there will still be one or two showers around, particularly across parts of Madeira, the Canary Islands, as we go through Monday afternoon. But elsewhere, high pressure in charge, bringing dry, sunny and some really warm weather over the next couple of days. We could see temperatures into the high 20s, perhaps even into the low 30s across parts of Spain, Portugal and across parts of Italy too. But plenty of sunshine is on the cards.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast on the Met Office. Well, the week ahead is set to remain fairly changeable, but one thing what we'll all notice towards the end of the week is it turning increasingly warm and humid. So out there at the moment we do have this area of high pressure trying to build in, and that will kill off most of the showers this evening, giving us fairly lengthy clear skies, especially across many eastern and central parts of the UK. Further west we will continue to see some showers as the night goes on, but under the clear skies it will turn fairly fresh for the time of year. Could also see some mist and fog patches forming, but most towns and cities I think holding up into double figures. So as we start Monday morning off across many southern parts of the UK, it's going to be a fairly cheery start to the day once any early mist and fog patches clear. Could just be the odd shower around, but I think for many southern parts of England and South Wales it should be fairly dry. Maybe an increased risk of showers for Northern England, and then a very different story for Northern Ireland and Scotland here. Increasing cloud through the course of the morning with some outbreaks of rain. Saying that, eastern Scotland, we will start the day with some sunshine, but make the most of it because the cloud and rain further west will spread its way towards you as we go through the course of the morning. And overall for Scotland and Northern Ireland, it is going to be a fairly cloudy and wet day that rain heavy at times, and will eventually move into parts of Northern England and the far north of Wales as we move into the afternoon. So it's really going to be the southern parts of the UK what hangs on to the fairly dry and bright weather, and you can see that in the temperatures too, rather cool in the north, but could see highs reaching 21 in the south. Overnight the rain will clear away, but it will leave behind a fair amount of cloud and some damp weather for southern England and South Wales. But for Scotland and Northern Ireland and eventually into Northern England too, a much better day with increasing amounts of sunshine here. That will set us up for a fairly dry and bright middle part of the week, but then it turns increasingly warm, humid and potentially thundery for some of us as we end the week ahead.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, It happens here.
On Britain's newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. That's State of the Nation every Monday and Tuesday at 8 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Ben Leo tonight. Let's go back to Los Angeles, where the US National Guard troops have begun to deploy in the downtown of the city after President Trump's crackdown. Big crowds gathering, some holding placards. You guys at home will enjoy this. One says, "No one is illegal on stolen land." Not sure how much weight that argument has. Scenes from yesterday, at least, and overnight show people waving Mexican flags. And to me, this is quite poignant. Waving Mexican flags on US soil as they burn down cars and buildings and riots and loot in protest at illegal migrants being kicked out of the country. If that doesn't explain the mental gymnastics of the radical left, I don't know what does. We'll go back to LA throughout the show. I keep saying as the evening draws in LA and the night comes in, I do fear about what may or may not happen, but we'll keep tabs on it throughout the show and indeed on headliners afterwards as well. Right, let's move on. Graffiti on the London Underground is on the rise, with the Bakerloo line and Central lines particularly hit the hardest. GB News' Tom Harwood has been getting his hands dirty this weekend. No, not like that. He's been taking matters into his own hands, partnering with the campaign group Looking for Growth. He's been scrubbing the tube carriages clean.
So, have a look at what we've been doing to this tube train. As we know, the Bakerloo line is absolutely riddled with graffiti. Well, not anymore, at least not so much on this particular carriage. We have been wiping away, swiping away.
Tom, I don't know about you. I'm joined now by Tom, actually. He's here. Tom, hello. I don't know about you. I like to do relaxing things with my weekend, not doing the Mayor of London's job for him. What inspired you to do this?
Well, it was actually all the brainchild of a friend of mine called Joe Reeve. Now, he works at the campaign group Looking for Growth, and it was actually the second graffiti clearing session that they'd done. They've done some outside, but it was the first time they'd gone to the tubes. And I was really keen to partner with Looking for Growth, to go with them, because every day when I get the tube, and I get the tube into work, you know, the Bakerloo line, my goodness me, every single carriage. I'm yet to see this year a single carriage that isn't riddled with graffiti, that doesn't look like it was something out of some sort of dystopian alternative reality or New York in the 1970s. I mean, it's really, really pungent how much London has changed just in the last couple of years, how the public realm has just started to disintegrate, how people in charge just seem to not care. And so what we really wanted to do was just show how bloomin' simple it is, how easy it is to wipe this graffiti away. We bought over-the-counter graffiti remover. We turned up with sponges, with scourers, with J-cloths, and we just got to work across the underground, and we managed to clean one tube carriage in full. We went up and down the Bakerloo line, actually to the point where the driver got out at the end of the line and said, "Hey guys, are you cleaning the tube?" And we're like, yeah, we are. We're just sort of volunteering to do this. And the driver, we met two drivers actually, who were both incredibly thankful. And other passengers that we bumped into, some of them thought that we might be doing some sort of community service, but when they realised that we were just volunteers, they were also saying, well, good on you. I mean, it is hopefully something that will perhaps shame the mayor and shame the authorities into action, because it is just not acceptable to see this degree of graffiti and frankly of disrespect to our public realm.
Well, look, well done you. The video you popped online earlier has got, I mean, it's fair to say it's gone viral. I think the one on X, at least, has had nearly 1 million views. Tom, why is it important... 1.25 million, Ben.
Oh,
sorry, there we go. You're keeping tabs, at least. Why don't the authorities, why doesn't Sadiq Khan and TfL and whoever else, why don't they have a grip of this? What is the issue?
Well, we've tried to find out what it really is, and before what TfL has said is that they don't have enough rolling stock that they can take the trains out of service to give them the thorough deep clean. And that seems to be a bit of excuse making to me, because we've proven that you don't need to take a train out of service to clean it. You can do it with over-the-counter materials. You could do it overnight. I mean, Sadiq Khan spends £10 billion a year on TfL. The idea that they cannot clean these tube trains is, to me, absolutely insane. But there's more than this, because once we actually sort of found out which graffiti was recent and which graffiti had been there for a little while, because when you're scrubbing away, some of it comes off more easily than other parts of it. And that gets to the bottom of the issue, because once people see a little bit of graffiti, then all hell breaks loose. I mean, it's the broken windows theory, right? Once there's a little bit of graffiti, then more graffiti artists come along. If they nip this in the bud, once they've done the first big clean, if they just keep tabs on it, then there won't be as much graffiti. I mean, it stands to reason. But I think this has really hit a public nerve, because, I mean, Elon Musk even retweeted one of the videos, and this main video that I put out, it's got
one of your videos,
1.25 million views. Yeah, one of the videos that Joe tweeted of me scrubbing away one of the pieces of graffiti on the tube. But I think this has really hit a nerve, because people realise, well, what a simple thing it is to clean a tube. Why can't our authorities do this sort of simple thing? So I hope someone in the mayor's office is listening.
Yeah, Tom, you're quite right. The broken window theory, I think it was Rudy Giuliani, Mayor of New York, you know, if you keep tabs on the small things, such as graffiti, I'd argue it's not small, but if you deal with it, and the small broken windows, crime doesn't spiral out of control. And it's all these little things that erode away at society, isn't it? It's the graffiti, it's the music on trains, it's the feet on seats and all the other nonsense. So good on you, well done. You'll have the full story and the full video. We didn't show the full video tonight because we're saving it, of course, for your own show, Good Afternoon Britain, tomorrow with Emily from midday, so if you're at home, tune into that. Thank you, Tom. Appreciate your company tonight. Get a good rest, and we'll see you tomorrow. Just before we go back to the panel, a TfL spokesperson has said they work to remove graffiti as quickly as they can, with offensive graffiti removed as a matter of urgency. I don't particularly know why it matters if it's offensive or not. They added, where graffiti cannot be removed easily, it's covered wherever possible and cleaned during engineering hours in order to keep trains out on the network and minimise delays to our customers. Welcome back, panel. Adam, Chloe, Bill. Adam, you're gagging to comment.
I get the train up here. I've got the train a lot this week, and the carriages are a disgrace. We look like New York from the 1980s. You're right, the trains really are terrible right now, but we've got a London mayor that is sitting on record high crime rates, graffiti everywhere, protesters shutting down London. Jews are scared to come into London, and he gets knighted. Hopefully this video shames TfL to clean it up.
Sir Sadiq, Chloe, your thoughts quickly?
I think the fact that this video and the video that Robert Jenrick did about people bumping through the gates, the fact that those two videos have both gone so viral really shows that this really does matter to Londoners. They care about the state of TfL. I was just having a look through my bank account the other day at how much money they take out of my account. It is insane how much I pay to go on the tube. It should at least be clean.
Yeah. Bill, what's your take? Is Sadiq Khan failing as mayor?
No, I don't think he is, but I do agree that you need to crack down on what you might describe as low-level crime.
Yeah.
It really irritates people. And one of the commitments in Labour's election manifesto was to get illegal fly tippers to clear up rubbish and graffiti. I say bring it on.
Yeah, definitely. Good stuff. Right, let's head back to LA very quickly. President Donald Trump has spoken to the media in the US amid these riots and protests in LA. There's people waving Mexican flags, burning down cars and so on. The crowds seem to be growing bigger. Trump has just told reporters, we'll send whatever we need to make sure there's law and order. He went on. Last night in Los Angeles, we watched it very closely. There was a lot of violence there, and it could have got much worse. And speaking about California Governor Gavin Newsom, the leader of California, President Trump said he called Newsom on the phone and told him, you've got to take care of it, otherwise I'm sending in the troops. And that's what we did. And indeed, he did just that. 2,000 US National Guard troops have begun to deploy in downtown Los Angeles after that immigration crackdown saw police use tear gas on protesters. As I said, cars burnt down in a move that sent shockwaves through American politics. But I will say, it shouldn't come as a surprise to many because Donald Trump got elected on that very premise. We will kick out all the illegal migrants, and that's what he's doing. Right, coming up next, the Darlington nurses have won their landmark case for a female-only changing room. I'll be speaking with one of them next.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there short and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. That's State of the Nation every Monday and Tuesday at 8 o'clock, only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Welcome back to Ben Leo Tonight. Again, let's go back to LA very quickly to catch up on the scenes there. President Donald Trump has spoken to the media in the US, telling reporters, "We'll send whatever we need to make sure there's law and order in the city," he said. Last night in Los Angeles, we watched it very closely. There was a lot of violence and it could have got much worse. This, of course, if you're just tuning in, comes off the back of 2 days of protests, riots and looting because Donald Trump's administration dared carry out what it said it would do and start deporting illegal migrants. There were around 120 arrests in predominantly Latino areas of LA where people have been arrested and rounded up, presumably because they're going to be kicked out of the country. Speaking about the incident and the last couple of days, California Governor Gavin Newsom, who President Trump calls a far-left radicalist, he has said President Trump said that he called Newsom and said, "You've got to take care of it, otherwise I'm sending in the troops." And that's what we did. 2,000, it's believed, US National Guard troops are now in downtown LA. Gavin Newsom has taken to social media to urge protesters to remain calm. He said to those protesting, "Do not give Trump what he wants." We'll keep tabs on this throughout the show. OK, let's move on to one of our latest stories. The Darlington nurses have won their legal case against their employer, there they are on screen, after raising concerns about a biological male who identifies as a woman and goes by the name Rose being allowed to use the female staff changing room at their hospital. It's a massive victory for these ladies. It comes after Health Secretary Wes Streeting intervened personally, instructing the hospital to provide the nurses with separate changing facilities. And I'm delighted to be joined now by one of the Darlington nurses tonight, Karen Danson. Karen, good evening. Thank you for your company. First of all, look, congratulations on your victory. Just tell us, please, why it was so important to you. Why did you need your own spaces away from this person called Rose, who's actually a biological male, who turns out is heterosexual?
Well, it's completely... good evening, sorry. It's completely unacceptable to have a biological man in a female-only changing room. And from a personal, from my personal point of view, I was abused as a child, and having a man in our changing room is a particular trigger for me. And the Trust just did nothing about it, so we had to take things further.
So you complained to the Trust about this. You and your colleagues got together, and they just ignored you. They didn't really care about it.
Not a bit. They didn't care at all. We wrote a letter of concern. 26 of us signed it. And the response was that we needed to be re-educated, we needed to broaden our mindset, and they backed this trans person 150%.
So, Karen, this person who identifies as Rose, on one occasion they were staring at you or your colleagues' breasts in this changing room and asking, are you getting changed yet? Another of your colleagues had a panic attack. I don't think it was you. Is that accurate?
That was me.
You had the panic attack?
I was in the changing room, and within 5 minutes, he'd asked me 3 times, are you not getting changed yet?
And what was he doing?
Too much. He was half dressed in the changing room, just staring at me, wanting to know why I wasn't getting changed.
What a disgrace. How can anybody in positions of power allow this to happen? What's your feeling now towards the Trust? I assume you still work for them.
I do, yes. I just feel totally abandoned by them. You know, we went with all our concerns, and they weren't interested. We never thought that we'd have to take legal action to get what is our right, to have a female-only space, to get changed, a safe space that respects our privacy and dignity.
And what do you make of people who call you a TERF or a bigot for complaining about this kind of thing? Because that's what they say.
They do, yes, but there's been loads of positivity out there for us. There's loads of positive comments, and I'm not a bigot. I'm not a TERF. I'm just fighting for what's right. I want to feel safe when I get changed. Yeah. There's what's happened to me could have happened to other people, and I want to be a voice for them to stand up and come forward and say this is not acceptable.
Karen, you're a brave lady, you and your colleagues, and I'm glad, actually, it was Wes Streeting who intervened in the end, one of the more competent Labour ministers, who told Darlington Hospital, sort this out, you know, pull your finger out, don't be so ridiculous, and he got involved and he sorted it out for you. What's your thoughts, finally, on Mr Streeting?
Well, he offered his support to us about a year ago, and I met him back in October last year, and I told him a bit about my past and how I suffer from PTSD, and he promised then that he would do something about it. And it's only now, as the Supreme Court judgment has provided clarity, that he's sent someone from NHS England to the hospital to get things moving. But there was no time frame. Yeah, well, just said we'll do it quickly, but that's it.
Karen, thank you so much for speaking about this tonight. And again, congratulations to you. I really do praise your courage, your bravery, your tenacity for getting this sorted out. So well done to you, and send my regards, and indeed from the channel, to your colleagues as well. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Take care. A spokesman for County Durham and Darlington NHS Foundation Trust said the Trust is committed to providing a safe, secure and respectful working environment for all colleagues, operating within the law and adhering to national policies. The Trust has processes in place for listening and responding to concerns raised by any of our colleagues. We take all complaints seriously. Right, don't forget, you can stay with us all day, not just on TV, but on radio and on your smart speaker. To listen to us on your smart speaker, just say, play GB News on TuneIn. We'll be heading back to LA just after the break to keep you updated on that, plus the first of tomorrow's newspaper front pages, hot off the press. Do not go anywhere. This is Ben Leo Tonight, only on GB News. Now, let's get your weather.
A positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed Home Battery Storage, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast on the Met Office. Well, the week ahead is set to remain fairly changeable, but one thing what we'll all notice towards the end of the week is it turning increasingly warm and humid. So out there at the moment we do have this area of high pressure trying to build in, and that will kill off most of the showers this evening, giving us fairly lengthy clear skies, especially across many eastern and central parts of the UK. Further west we will continue to see some showers as the night goes on, but under the clear skies it will turn fairly fresh for the time of year. Could also see some mist and fog patches forming, but most towns and cities I think holding up into double figures. So as we start Monday morning off across many southern parts of the UK, it's going to be a fairly cheery start to the day once any early mist and fog patches clear. It could just be the odd shower around, but I think for many southern parts of England and South Wales it should be fairly dry. Maybe an increased risk of showers for northern England, and then a very different story for Northern Ireland and Scotland here. Increasing cloud through the course of the morning with some outbreaks of rain. Saying that, eastern Scotland, we will start the day with some sunshine, but make the most of it because the cloud and rain further west will spread its way towards you as we go through the course of the morning. And overall for Scotland and Northern Ireland, it is going to be a fairly cloudy and wet day. That rain heavy at times, and will eventually move into parts of northern England and the far north of Wales as we move into the afternoon. So it's really going to be the southern parts of the UK what hangs on to the fairly dry and bright weather, and you can see that in the temperatures too. Rather cool in the north, but could see highs reaching 21 in the south. Overnight the rain will clear away, but it will behind a fair amount of cloud and some damp weather for southern England and South Wales. But for Scotland and Northern Ireland, and eventually into northern England too, a much better day with increasing amounts of sunshine here. That will set us up for a fairly dry and bright middle part of the week, but then it turns increasingly warm, humid and potentially thundery for some of us as we end the week ahead.
A positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed home battery storage, sponsors of weather on GB News.
£54,321 in totally tax-free cash could make your year the best yet. How would you react if you got that winning call?
Oh my God, I'm going to cry. Oh my God. Thank you.
You weren't expecting to get that call today, were you?
No, I wasn't.
For a chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Blinds close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, and as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. That's State of the Nation every Monday and Tuesday at 8 o'clock, only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Good evening, it's 10 p.m, I'm Ben Leo, and breaking tonight, tensions are flaring between protesters and law enforcement in Los Angeles as President Donald Trump sends 2,000 National Guard members to quell days of protests over migrant deportations.
How dare you?
You have stolen my dreams and my childhood with your empty words.
Oh, I love it. It's an all-time classic, isn't it? Greta Thunberg is part of a group sailing international waters, under a British flag, by the way, to deliver aid to Gaza. But the Israelis tonight have given her a stern warning to stay the hell away.
She gon' do that, baby mama. Drop.
Oh, God, did I have to see that again? The Duchess of Sussex and Prince Harry go viral, of course, for their latest cringeworthy video of them twerking in the maternity ward. A new update on that tonight from the editor-at-large of the Mail on Sunday, Charlotte Griffiths, who will be joining me live very shortly. Massive story in The Sun tomorrow. Jail switch bid for Southport monster Axel Rudabakana. He's eyeing a move to a cushy, secure mental unit as he has tests to see if he's mad or bad. And do you know what? Axel Rudabakana shouldn't even be having tests to see if he's mad or bad. I argue he shouldn't even be on the planet or in prison. Joining me on the panel this evening, political commentator Chloe Dobbs, former Labour Minister Bill Rammell, and the businessman and activist Adam Brooks. All the newspapers coming up in just a tick, but first, let's get your news headlines with Sam Francis.
Very good evening to you. The top story tonight. National Guard troops are now on the streets of Los Angeles, setting up outside federal buildings after days of unrest in the city over immigration raids in predominantly Latino neighbourhoods. Donald Trump, the president, has ordered 2,000 troops into the city, saying protests that block immigration enforcement constitute a rebellion. They'll be deployed for 60 days, with the Defence Secretary making the final call on their presence. California's governor, though, has slammed the move as inflammatory, while Democrats say it's authoritarian overreach. But some Republicans insist the troops are there to stop tensions spiralling. Meanwhile, the fallout between the President Donald Trump and Elon Musk is fuelling fears over deep cuts to NASA's science program. The White House is proposing slashing NASA's budget by nearly a quarter, with critics warning it could be the agency's worst crisis in decades. Trump has threatened to withdraw contracts with SpaceX, which NASA relies on to reach the Moon and Mars. Space experts say vital climate and planetary missions could also be scrapped and warn the space program is being, they say, repurposed for flags, not science. More than 60,000 NHS appointments were cancelled during just 5 days last summer, including many for cancer patients. Figures seen exclusively by GB News reveal that 63,000 procedures were scrapped during July strikes, including vital biopsies and X-rays. The Health Secretary Wes Streeting is now urging doctors to reconsider further strike plans, warning the disruption risks delaying life-saving diagnosis. Israel's defence minister has vowed to stop an aid flotilla carrying Greta Thunberg and other activists from reaching Gaza. The vessel, Madeleine, operated by the Freedom Flotilla Coalition, left Sicily last week. They say they aim to break Israel's naval blockade and deliver humanitarian aid. However, Israel Katz said no boat will be allowed through and called the blockade essential to stop arms from reaching Hamas. It comes as tensions are high after a previous flotilla attempt was struck by drones in international waters. And Sir David Attenborough has urged urgent action to save the world's oceans. He told Prince William, "We must act before we destroy this great treasure."
The thing which I am appalled by when I first saw the shots that were taken for this film are what we have done to the deep ocean floor.
Well, the pair was speaking after a private screening of Ocean, a new documentary narrated by Sir David Attenborough that exposes the damage from overfishing and deep-sea trawling. Prince William, who calls Attenborough his inspiration, will address world leaders at a marine summit and urge urgent, optimistic action. The film supports protecting 30% of marine areas by 2030, a goal that both men say could help the oceans to recover. Those are the latest headlines for now. Do stay with us for plenty more right here on GB News.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Welcome back to Ben Leo Tonight. Some breaking news, a pretty big story actually in the Sun newspaper tomorrow. Brace yourselves because you may get slightly infuriated. Southport monster Axel Rudabakana is eyeing a move to a cushy, secure mental hospital as he has tests to see whether he's mad or bad. My panel's here with me now, Adam Brooks, Chloe Dobbs, Bill Rammell. Let me just give you some colour on this story, guys, which is in the Sun newspaper tomorrow. He's had Rudabakana assessments on his mental health with therapists and psychologists over whether he is an evil person or, quite frankly, just a nutter and lost his head after these Southport massacres last year. To me, it doesn't matter whether he's mad or bad. I couldn't care less. I don't think he should even be in prison. No. I think he's the best case of recent decades for the return of capital punishment. Chloe, can I just get your thoughts on this? You picked out some key detail in this story about the cost of a mental institution compared to prison, right? Just explain to the viewers what that is.
Yeah, so I mean, on that death penalty question, a lot of people have raised the point we shouldn't be paying to keep this person in prison after what he did. But prison is going to cost the taxpayer 57 grand a year. But the cushy mental hospital, what's that going to cost? 325 grand a year to taxpayers.
Wow.
And that will make people absolutely furious. And on this point of, oh, let's test whether he's mad or bad, I'm sorry, but anybody who is a murderer is mad. They are crazy. It's not... There's this false dichotomy here. You can be crazy and a bad person at the same time. And these mental hospitals, it's not really like you get properly treated there. You get given drugs by the NHS, but it's not like you get proper therapy. In fact, people tend to go more insane because they're surrounded by more mad people. Typically, they are used to get somebody off the streets who is at risk of hurting somebody else or themselves. But he's already off the streets. He's in a prison. So I really don't see the point. It does seem like he's trying to game the system here.
Bill, it says here in the Sun newspaper, if Rudabakana was cleared for treatment in a mental health unit, he could be switched from HMP Belmarsh, a prison, of course, to either Broadmoor, Ashworth or Rampton. Inmates at the top 3 secure psychiatric units, the aforementioned units there, are treated as patients rather than prisoners.
Well, I wouldn't describe Broadmoor as a cushy number. If you go back through history and look
from Belmarsh, yeah, to Broadmoor.
To Broadmoor.
Yeah.
If you go back through history and look at the reports of the conditions in Broadmoor, it's most certainly not a cushy number. However, I hope he's not given the opportunity to move to a mental institution. I think there are some crimes that are just so heinous that actually it demands a custodial sentence. And if he needs mental health support, they should come into the prison where he's currently...
What's your take on the death penalty?
I'm against the death penalty.
In cases like this?
Yes, in all cases.
How come?
Let me explain. One, on moral grounds, I think the state taking the life of anyone is unacceptable. But two, just go back through history and the number of cases of people who have been wrongly convicted. And what you're saying is the state should take their life and then we say, oh, we got it wrong. No,
I think my argument is in absolutely nailed-on cases, i.e. this case, Southport, there's no disagreement with what happened, there's no nuance, there's not 1% of doubt. I am for it. Adam, what's your...
Yeah, that should 100% be an option, but it's not going to happen in this country. So for me, I would like him to be put into a very small cell, only let out maybe 1 hour a day, no contact with other prisoners, no luxuries, no TV or anything now for the next 30 or 40 years. He needs to live in hell.
And he certainly shouldn't have a kettle.
No, he shouldn't have a kettle or any luxuries. I think it's time now to have that discussion with politicians about a harder justice for people like this.
Yeah, a source has told the Sun newspaper Rudabakana has had the initial test to see whether he can be classed as mentally ill and moved to a hospital unit. Conversations are happening now about his future after he was being assessed by therapists, psychologists and other medical experts. He is very keen for a move because others at Belmarsh think he is gaming the system. He knows he would be on Easy Street at any secure mental unit as opposed to Belmarsh, which is one of the toughest prisons in the UK.
I mean, I just don't understand how it's possible for someone to be a murderer and not be mentally ill. Why are they even assessing him for this? Anyone who murders a child, or anyone for that matter,
in cold blood,
is mentally ill. It doesn't mean that you're a good person just because you were discovered to be mentally ill and, oh, actually, we just need to give them a bit of therapy. He is an evil human being. Of course he's insane. I think most people in prison are mentally unwell.
And beyond what he did to those poor babies, I mean, God bless those 3, and of the others who were injured, the dance teacher, the other kids, you know, God bless them. But beyond that,
he should suffer.
This scumbag threw boiling water over a prison guard a few weeks ago. I don't think he should be on this planet. I'm sorry.
No, agreed.
I don't care if that makes me immoral. I mean, on cases, Bill, where it's nailed on, we know what this guy did. He's a waste of space. Why should taxpayers pay for his existence on Earth? I don't see.
Because I think it is morally wrong for the state to take someone's...
Well, we go to war, don't we?
Blood.
We go to war, don't we?
But it's morally wrong to kill 3 kids.
Well, we're defending the nation from scumbags like this guy. What's the difference? We're defending ourselves at war. Let's defend... This is a war. It's a war on our streets against absolute cretins like Axel Rudabakana. It's a war. It's a war on our land.
It is utterly unacceptable and immoral what he has done, and he should spend the rest of his days in prison, and I agree, in very tough circumstances, but I wouldn't take his life.
OK. Right, let's get some more of the front pages. The Metro has just dropped. The headline reads, "Army of 1 million donors needed as stocks run low." This is a call for blood donations. The NHS is out for your blood. The health service urgently needs to find about 200,000 more regular blood donors to prevent a red alert where shortage of supplies puts public safety at risk. Have you guys donated blood before, Adam?
I haven't. I don't really like needles, if I'm honest, but it is something that I will do in the future. I just got to get round to it. Yeah. But it's worthwhile, and any viewers watching, if you can give blood, please do.
No, I agree with that. I haven't. My wife does, and she constantly says to me, you should do it. And just looking at this story, only 2% of people give blood. You know, this is a collective effort.
Well, it's good that they've put it on the front page, because I have to say, after reading that, I'm thinking, yeah, that's probably I should do. It's something I've never really given a huge amount of thought to, but I probably should do. So now that's out on the front page, hopefully they'll get people that they need.
Do you even know your blood types?
No.
I ask my mother whenever I need to know.
Yeah, good idea.
She knows better than me.
OK, let's look at the front page of the Eye. PIP benefit cuts may be softened to quash dissent against Rachel Reeves. This is interesting. Controversial cuts to welfare benefits worth £5 billion could be modified to head off a rebellion of up to 170 MPs as the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, prepares to reveal her spending plans on Wednesday. It's going to be a big day on Wednesday. Maybe Bill will discuss this in just a sec. And The Independent, I'll just have to say, this picture of Carlos Alcaraz on the top of The Independent. I didn't see the game at Roland Garros, the French Open, this afternoon. I was busy preparing for the show. I'm gutted because people are saying it was the best tennis Grand Slam final ever. Alcaraz came back from 2 sets down, and I think at one point he was 5-3 down and 40-love down. Sinner having 4 championship points under his belt. Alcaraz, the young Spaniard, came back and he won. What a picture. I'm so happy for him. Yeah, I just have to appreciate him as a sportsman. Well done to him. And down the bottom there, Rachel Reeves in 11th hour deal to end the cabinet civil war. The Treasury agrees late deal with Angela Rayner's housing ministry just days before the big spending review on Wednesday. Have we got the Express as well? Yeah. Delays over winter fuel, U-turn a disgrace. Angry campaigners yesterday demanded Rachel Reeves must not betray pensioners again after Labour's chaotic winter fuel U-turn was delayed until autumn. Panel, should we talk quickly about Wednesday? So this, according to the Independent Bill, Reeves has done an 11th hour deal with Angela Rayner's housing ministry. So the Deputy PM seemingly winning the battle of the department.
Well, shock horror. I mean, look, in every 3-year spending review that's taken place under successive governments, you have last-minute deals and negotiations to get agreement over the line, and I'm sure that's what's happening here. And on the PIP payments, my understanding from reading this story is it's about the phasing of when ineligible PIP claimants will no longer receive benefit, and I can live with that, but I hope the government doesn't back off on the overall thrust of welfare reform, because the bill is going from 29 billion to 56 billion to 100 billion by the end of the decade, and that is utterly unsustainable, because that would suggest that 1 in 4 people are disabled, and that's just not the reality.
Any thoughts, Chloe?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with Bill on that she shouldn't give in to the mob who are telling her to just scrap the changes. If it is simply a case of her just changing the transition period so people don't suddenly just have a cliff where they lose all the money that they've been using to pay their rent and whatnot, then that is fine. But the benefits bill, it is just going up and up and up, and it is causing huge problems, not just for the size of the tax bill, but for the economy, having so many people who maybe could do some work but are stuck in this horrific cycle.
Adam, Angela Rayner's won the battle of the departments. Does that surprise you?
Not really. I think there's a lot of power plays going on within Labour. I've spoke to some people that are very close to Labour, and I've heard that Rachel Reeves could be gone in a few weeks, if not months.
Is that true, Bill? What have you heard?
No, I don't believe that's the case. I think she'll serve.
I think Ed Miliband's won the way with the net zero policies. I don't think she can afford to square any of these numbers. I think she's banging trouble, and I think the hierarchy of Labour know that they're going to have to get rid of either her or Ed Miliband, and it's not going to be Ed here.
Interestingly, in The Independent, it says Yvette Cooper's Home Office is still believed to be arguing over proposed cuts to the police and border control budgets. So why are they cutting border control budgets, Bill, when small boat migrant arrivals are completely out of control?
I don't believe they will ultimately cut border control. There may be an argument taking place over police numbers, but look, you know, government and politics is the language of priorities, and the key priority is the National Health Service, and there's a very significant increase going to be announced on Wednesday in funding for the NHS. In order to deliver that, you need to make tough choices about where else.
So you think British people's priority is the NHS?
Yes, I do. I think
not migration.
Well, if you look at the polling evidence, it's still the #1 concern. People want waiting lists. Yeah, people want waiting lists to be dramatically reduced so they can have confidence they'll get the treatment they need when.
I thought it was immigration was #1, no?
No, it's the NHS.
I think the NHS and immigration are both very important to people. The difficulty that Rachel Reeves has here is that Ed Miliband is the most, amongst Labour members, is the most popular cabinet minister, and the Labour members absolutely love net zero. But the general public would much rather have money being spent on border control and the policing than on net zero. She's in a very difficult position where the Labour Party, they don't want to lose more members to reform if they allow law and order and border control to continue to go out the window, but they're also going to really upset their base if they start watering down Ed Miliband's net zero.
Yeah, I have to say, as a Labour Party member, I find the polls showing Ed Miliband the most popular cabinet member amongst Labour Party members slightly strange.
That says a lot about Labour Party members.
Oh, there we go. On that mic drop, let's get on to the Great British Giveaway. Your chance to win £54,321 in tax-free cash. It's the biggest giveaway to date. Here's all the details you need to win.
We're kick-starting summer in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 with your chance to win our biggest cash prize to date, as there's an incredible £54,321 in tax-free cash to be won. What would you spend it on? A brand new car, the holiday of a lifetime, or just the chance to sit back, relax and remove some of those day-to-day financial stresses? £54,321 in tax-free cash has to be won. For a chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
All right, let's head back to Los Angeles now. President Donald Trump is responding to riots in the city. Take a listen to this.
Well, we're going to have troops everywhere. We're not going to let this happen to our country. We're not going to let our country be torn apart like it was under Biden. And if we see danger to our country and to our citizens, we'll be very, very strong in terms of law and order. It's about law and order.
And these are live pictures now from downtown LA. Crowds gathering after 2 days of riots and looting. Mexican flags being waved on the streets of the United States. Cars burning, shops being looted of goods and items. And isn't it refreshing? I don't know, you tell me, viewers at home, isn't it nice to see a president who cares about the homeland and does what he says he'll do? Get rid of illegal migrants. 120 people rounded up in LA, predominantly from Latino-based neighbourhoods, and that's why everybody's kicking off. People, I guess Latinos, Mexicans, whoever else, angry that the president, who was elected on a massive mandate, he won the popular vote, he won the Electoral College, is doing what he said he'd do. Isn't it nice to see for a political leader doing what he said he'll do, regardless of the kickback? We'll be back in just a tick with more of that. Again, I have to say it, for Ofcom reasons, apologies if you've seen any funny or offensive placards there in the crowd. I'm sure you'll be OK. Right, more front pages have just dropped. Back in a minute with those. Don't go anywhere. Ben Leo's Tonight.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters. Real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Martin Daubney, weekdays from 3 p.m.
A lot of people have been imbibed with the notion you're born white, you're born male, you've won life's lottery, but that's not what people are telling you. Tell us, what began your journey on this fascinating path?
I mean, I think rather like you, I've had a long interest in men and mental health. And I was talking to companies about men's mental health, and at the end, there'd always be guys who come up to me and say, I can't say this out loud, but my career has taken a real hit because I'm a man. I don't know what to do with that. You know, things had to change. I'm not sexist, I'm not racist, but I'm really suffering. So I heard that so many times. I thought I need to investigate this, gauge how wide this is, and did some polling, spoke to a lot of people, and I was really staggered by what we got back. You know, for nearly half of all white guys to be walking around too scared to even give respectful feedback to a colleague, to not risk making a joke, to, you know, a third have said that their mental health has been affected because there's that terrible fear that doing or saying the wrong thing and you're out the door.
Gets you cancelled.
Yeah, and then, you know, particularly from young guys, you know, more than 1 in 3 young guys saying that they've directly lost out on career opportunities, promotions because they're white men. It was a scale I didn't expect, and you know, as I said, no one's saying this didn't have to change. You know, in my old BBC days, I've worked undercover to expose racism, but the DEI, the diversity programs that have been rolled out, aren't just nice HR policies. They're actually rooted in an early 70s radical Marxism that divides everyone into oppressed and oppressor. And if you're white and male, you're an oppressor. Doesn't matter if you're working class, doesn't matter what your mental health's like. You're already seen as top of the pack. And as we know, it's a massive distortion of what it's like for most guys.
GB News, the People's Channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Ben Leo's Tonight. More papers have just dropped. We'll get stuck into them in just a tick, and there are some good stories on the front. But first, though, let's have some royal news with the editor-at-large of the Mail on Sunday, and I call her the royal scoop-getter extraordinaire, Charlotte Griffiths. Welcome, Charlotte. I saw your piece in the Mail on Sunday today.
Yeah.
Very good. Just explain what it was.
Well, Meghan doesn't really care that we don't like her video. So this time last week, I was on this show and the video had just dropped of her twerking in the hospital suite when she was giving birth to Lily.
Should we remind ourselves of what that is before we get stuck into your analysis? Let's take a look.
She gon' do that, baby mama. Drop, drop.
Oh, God, it's the song as well. It's so inane. Anyway, sorry, so what have you found out?
Well, this time last week, I was on this show going, I don't know what she was thinking, why has she done this? It couldn't be more of an own goal. But I think it was actually tactical, because what I've since discovered is that she's about to reveal that she's going to make a rosé wine, and she's going to drop, in the next day or two, she's going to reveal more products from her, her business, as ever. And apparently there's going to be a different kind of jam, maybe a strawberry jam. There might even be a lemon curd.
What happened to the first jam?
It was sold out almost instantly.
Oh, it's popular?
Yeah, it was really popular. It sold out instantly.
What sort of loser buys that? Sorry. You've got to be a real loser to buy her stuff.
But my point is that actually I think she went viral on purpose and she knows exactly what she's doing. Because she's about, at the end of the month, she's about to relaunch her website with all these new products to sell.
So you think it was calculated? You think she's got a new wine coming out, a rosé?
Yeah, and actually her team have counted this video as a win because I must be getting old because I thought it was the worst video, but apparently the Gen Zers loved it. They totally got it. They bought into it. Apparently it was her most successful social media post ever. And all the Americans apparently love it.
Hate watching. I've seen it a bunch of times. That's because I was hate watching it.
I guess it's any publicity is good publicity.
But isn't it about the difference in culture between the US and this country? I mean, I watched that and it's a bit icky. And I think, weird. But in the US, that kind of thing goes down well, and her big market is the US.
Exactly that. So she's trying to sell these products to the US. She doesn't care about us. We're probably not going to buy her jam, and there's not many of us. But, there's a lot of Americans out there. So she only really wants it to go viral in America anyway.
And Ben, there's a lot of people that don't think that's a real bump, me included. It's got lumps, bumps and grooves all over it. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but that is not a natural bump.
And
and you say it was calculated with planning before this launch. I feel like that video was calculated, and she whipped that up yesterday with a pillow under her dress and then pretended it was from several years ago.
Well, I think she was responding. There was a conspiracy theory online, and I think she was trying to show, look, I really did give birth, and that.
Well, that doesn't prove it, because my wife's had 3 big baby bumps, and none of them have got grooves and
I don't know,
sharp edges like that one.
She's just got the monitors stuck on her bum.
No,
I'm into wacky conspiracies for fun. I just can't buy that one. I'm not an expert. I don't know.
Take a look at the bum and come back to me. Come on.
Charlotte, I was going to say, what a fall from grace for Meghan. I was at the royal wedding. You were as well, I think. Was it 2018?
Yeah.
She was married into the royal family. She had the Queen's ear. She was, I think, much loved by the Queen at the start.
Yeah.
She was doing all these amazing ambassadorships for the United Nations and so on. Top of the game.
Yeah.
Really top tier. And now she's releasing viral videos of her twerking to promote the fact she's got new jam and wine coming out. I mean, it's a bit of a fall from grace, isn't it?
Well, I think it totally is. But the thing is about being a member of the royal family is it's not a big money spinner. And she's always been very focused on becoming a millionaire or billionaire.
Saying she's a hustler.
Private jets. Well, yeah, I mean, you can't spend big money when you're a member of the royal family. You can't fly private. You can't have this luxurious lifestyle. I think she thought that was what she was marrying into. But bizarrely, this Hollywood set are actually more royal than the royals in that they really do splash the cash. And that's what she wants to do. She just wants to make money.
What does Harry make of all this, the celebrity life, do you think?
Well,
is he happy?
He's never, ever wanted to be famous. So I can't believe what a 180 he's done. And to be part of these viral videos, it's just so unlike the Harry that I used to know back in the day. He hated this kind of stuff. So, but, I think he just wants to be happy and just wants to keep his family together. So he'll do whatever he's told, by the sounds of things.
Marriages are compromises.
Yeah, and he's reduced to a cameo role on that video, I must say.
What did you say, sorry?
Marriages are compromises.
Oh, yeah. Telling me.
Yeah.
Big compromise.
She wears the trousers in that relationship.
Even if she does become a big multi-billionaire from selling jam and rosé, I do still think that's a fall from grace, having been a member of the royal family, which I think most people would dream of.
Yeah.
And ripping apart the royal family as well.
Right, great stuff. Thank you, Charlotte. More front pages have dropped. Let's have a look at The Sun. Shocking cost of crisis. Insane is the headline. £4.7 billion migrant hotel bill takes every penny in tax from the city size of Manchester. Britain's £4.7 billion annual bill to keep migrants in hotels and look after them takes every penny of tax from 582,000 workers. So, yeah, take a city the size of Manchester, all the tax generated from Manchester, and that will pay for this lot.
And it's going to get worse, Ben.
It will get worse.
Wait till they're here 5 years and all their family come over and multiply that by 4.
Let's go through the papers and then we'll talk about that. The Daily Mail, the headline reads, visa scam that makes mockery of PM's pledge on migration. Exposed by the Mail, the fixers who take cash to help unskilled workers fiddle the system. Corrupt immigration advisors are helping illegal workers dupe the Home Office in a cash for visas scam. That's according to a Mail investigation. I mean, Britain is just, I don't know, just trodden on and abused and pillaged. The Daily Telegraph. Policing is broken, officers warn Rachel Reeves. The police service is broken and forces are shedding officers because of funding cuts. Rachel Reeves has been warned tonight. That's in a joint article for the Daily Telegraph. And it comes, of course, off the back of reports tonight in The Independent that Rachel Reeves, in her financial statements on Wednesday, will announce cuts to police. So, yeah, not looking good for the police, unfortunately. The Guardian. As we've been touching on throughout the show, Trump has deployed the National Guard onto the streets of LA amid a dramatic escalation on the riots. That's off the back of him, the president, getting tough and doing what he said he'd do and kicking out illegal migrants to the country. Should we talk about this Sun front page? Should we get it up? Insane. £4.7 billion, Adam, the migrant hotel bill, and all that comes from the tax intake from a city the size of Manchester. Good value for money?
An utter disgrace. This country is falling very fast, and again, as I said, it's going to get a lot worse. They're not stopping the boats. Labour got rid of our only deterrent. They promised to get rid of the hotels. We're actually using more now. This bill is going to spiral so much, and the benefits that are going to be spent in the next decade or two on all their family, multiply the number of illegals we've got over here by 3 or 4 at least, and this country is going to be unrecognisable, Ben.
Bill, what do you make of this?
Well, it needs to be tackled. The costs need to be brought down. It was a Parliament-long commitment to end the use of hotels. The key to it is increasing the rate of processing, which is happening. Deals with France, and my understanding is that there is now an agreement in place with France for the French authorities to intervene in shallow waters, and also to bring back that if you have travelled through France, you're an illegal alien, and the police can actually take them off the boats. And the legal changes that the government is bringing through that are still in the House of Lords that will make it much easier to tackle the gangs. All of those things, I think, can and will, over a 5-year Parliament, start to tackle the problem.
So we've got to wait 5 years. Is that what you're saying? 5 years until the numbers come down? Is that right?
No, I think the numbers, particularly once the legal changes go through, I think over the next 6 to 9 months you will see a reduction in boat numbers. But the commitment to stop using hotels was a 5-year parliamentary commitment.
Labour made it legal to cross the Channel by dinghy. It was illegal under the Conservatives.
No, I mean, Bill, you tell us every week, oh, we've got all of these commitments in this white paper, and I understand that things do take time, but why is it the case that the numbers are going up and we're potentially on track to hit around 50,000 coming across the Channel this year? Yeah, why is it getting worse? I know things take time, but shouldn't it be getting at least a little bit better? Okay. Why couldn't we have a glimmer of hope?
I know it's easy to parody that issue, but it is a reality. There have been a record number of hot days, which makes it easier to cross the Channel.
Yeah, but in May, June last year, we had loads of what they call red days, hot days, and there's barely anyone crossing. And the reason why
this is a record year for them.
Is because they were all waiting for Keir Starmer to get into power. And I was there in Calais in May, June time last year, and they were all saying, we're waiting for Keir Starmer to get into power because we are worried about the Rwanda deterrent, but we want to make sure that's gotten rid of before we cross. They scrapped it on day one. They decided to do that.
All right, let Bill respond.
An agreement that only ever would have sent 1% of asylum seekers to a third country was not a deterrent.
Yes, it was. They even said it from their own mouths.
It wasn't.
It was.
What you need to do is to have the legal powers in place. You need deals with third countries like France and the agreement we've just reached with Germany. And those measures, plus increasing the processing, and it does take time, you know. Okay. You could say it should happen overnight. I think reasonable people realise these changes do take change.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's all going to be
Labour laughed at the Conservatives when they blamed the weather. Why are they now blaming the weather?
Let's continue this after the break. If you want inspiration on how to deal with illegal migrants once they're here in the UK, let's go to LA, where President Donald Trump is taking some flack dealing with rioters, protesters. He's deployed the National Guard on the streets of California. 2,000 National Guard members have been sent down there to tackle the violence. Donald Trump has just posted on his Truth Social account, a once great American city, Los Angeles, has been invaded and occupied by illegal aliens and criminals. Now, violent insurrectionist mobs are swarming and attacking our federal agents to try and stop our deportation operations. But these lawless riots only strengthen our resolve. I'm directing the Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, Secretary of Defence, Pete Hegseth, and Attorney General Pam Bondi, in coordination with all other relevant departments and agencies, to take all such action necessary to liberate Los Angeles from the migrant invasion and put an end to these migrant riots. Order will be restored, the illegals will be expelled, and Los Angeles will be set free. Thank you for your attention to this matter. And these are live pictures now from downtown LA. Adam Brooks, wow, What
Brilliant.
a statement.
Can you imagine we had a Prime Minister that talked tough like that? Fantastic. This is what people voted for in America. This is what he's delivering. And if you're there illegally, you're going to go. Whereas this country is sending a message to the world, please come, we'll put you in a hotel and give you everything.
We're going to continue this after the break, Bill. I want to get your response to that. Lots of people on gbnews.com/yoursay saying they wish Keir Starmer had an ounce of the sort of delivery or the brashness and confidence that Donald Trump does, but we'll discuss that after the break. Next, though, Greta Thunberg. Remember her? She's once again made the headlines, but this time it's not for climate alarmism. Israel aren't happy, that's all I'll say. This is Ben Leo Tonight, only on GB News.
Be nice to escape the grey.
Clear skies, here we come.
As clear as our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
High pressure is in charge for much of Europe over the next couple of days, bringing plenty of dry, warm and sunny weather. However, there will still be 1 or 2 showers around, particularly across parts of Madeira, the Canary Islands, as we go through Monday afternoon. But elsewhere, high pressure in charge, bringing dry, sunny and some really warm weather over the next couple of days. We could see temperatures into the high 20s, perhaps even into the low 30s across parts of Spain, Portugal and across parts of Italy too. But plenty of sunshine is on the cards.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast on the Met Office. Well, the week ahead is set to remain fairly changeable, but one thing what we'll all notice towards the end of the week is it turning increasingly warm and humid. So out there at the moment we do have this area of high pressure trying to build in, and that will kill off most of the showers this evening, giving us fairly lengthy clear skies, especially across many eastern and central parts of the UK. Further west we will continue to see some showers as the night goes on, but under the clear skies it will turn fairly fresh for the time of year. Could also see some mist and fog patches forming, but most towns and cities I think holding up into double figures. So as we start Monday morning off across many southern parts of the UK, it's going to be a fairly cheery start to the day once any early mist and fog patches clear. Could just be the odd shower around, but I think for many southern parts of England and South Wales it should be fairly dry. Maybe an increased risk of showers for Northern England, and then a very different story for Northern Ireland and Scotland here. Increasing cloud through the course of the morning with some outbreaks of rain. Saying that, eastern Scotland, we will start the day with some sunshine, but make the most of it because the cloud and rain further west will spread its way towards you as we go through the course of the morning. And overall for Scotland and Northern Ireland, it is going to be a fairly cloudy and wet day, that rain heavy at times, and will eventually move into parts of Northern England and the far north of Wales as we move into the afternoon. So it's really going to be the southern parts of the UK what hangs on to the fairly dry and bright weather, and you can see that in the temperatures too, rather cool in the north, but could see highs reaching 21 in the south. Overnight the rain will clear away, but it will leave behind a fair amount of cloud and some damp weather for southern England and South Wales. But for Scotland and Northern Ireland and eventually into Northern England too, a much better day with increasing amounts of sunshine here. That will set us up for a fairly dry and bright middle part of the week, but then it turns increasingly warm, humid and potentially thundery for some of us as we end the week ahead.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it? Because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Dubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Ben Leo Tonight. Now, here's a story that will get your attention. Greta Thunberg, the so-called doom goblin, has once again made headlines, but this time it's not for climate change. She has been part of a group sailing under a British flag, to deliver aid. She's sailing in international waters. I think she's up the Suez Canal by now. But critics say it's a political stunt that risks inflaming tensions.
We cannot afford to give up. There is simply too much at stake. And in times of injustice, as we are seeing now, the genocide and blockade happening, we have to do everything we can to demand an end to these atrocities and war crimes committed by Israel.
So, yeah, she's on her way to Gaza. She wants to deliver aid. The IDF, Israel, has said, do not come anywhere near. You're not getting in. You're not delivering your aid. Let's get the thoughts now from the Activist for Freedom Flotilla Coalition, Dr. Yvonne Ridley. Yvonne, nice to see you. Thank you for your company tonight. What's your take on Greta? Some of her critics tonight are saying that this is just a PR stunt. She's just trying to get back into the headlines because whether it is or isn't, she's not getting that aid anywhere near Gaza if the IDF has anything to do with it.
Well, I think that Greta Thunberg has had some unfair publicity. She isn't a publicity seeker. I spent a few days with her just last month when we were on another boat to go to Gaza. That one was bombed. She's a very quiet, thoughtful person, and she's not seeking headlines for herself, although the very fact that she is on board the boat is generating the sort of publicity that is needed for this sort of exercise, because we need to shine a light on the fact that there are 2 million people who are starving in Gaza, and that is a reality. You know, this is what we're told by all of the aid agencies. This is what we're told by the medics, by the hospital doctors, that children are starving, they're skeletal, they're skin and bones. And so if this is a publicity stunt, so be it. We need to shine a light on what many of us call a genocide in Gaza.
Well, why doesn't Greta try and communicate with Hamas? Because they're stopping the aid from getting to the Gazans, to the Palestinians.
Well, they're not actually. The Israelis are stopping the aid getting in.
Why would they do that?
There are still thousands of trucks waiting to get into Gaza, crammed with aid. They're not being stopped from entering Gaza by Hamas. They are being stopped from entering Gaza by the occupation.
Why would Israel do that, do you think?
Why would they do that?
Yeah, why is Israel doing that?
Well, Israel is committing a war crime by using starvation as a weapon against the people in Gaza.
Just think logically about this, Yvonne. To what benefit would it benefit starving Palestinians?
Israel is currently being investigated by the International Criminal Justice Courts for war crimes, and using starvation as a weapon.
But they're not fighting.
Crime.
Sorry to interject again, Yvonne. But the IDF and Israel aren't fighting Palestinian civilians, are they? So why would they? To what benefit? I'm asking you genuinely. I'm not trying to give you a gotcha. Why would they deliberately try and starve Gazan kids? To what benefit?
Well, this is why the whole business of genocide is being investigated, because you're saying they're not targeting children. Israel says it's not targeting children. Tell that to the families of the 15,000 children, possibly up to 20,000 buried under the rubble. Tell that to the families of those children that are dead.
Yeah, and it breaks my heart seeing any child dead, a Palestinian child, an Israeli child, the many that were killed on October the 7th. Hamas should stop, I argue, stop...
Because nobody is stopping this.
Nobody's stopping it?
This needs to stop. The international community...
Well, Hamas could stop it. Hamas were elected by the Palestinian people. They could stop it by stop stealing aid and, most importantly, just release the hostages. That's what it comes down to.
Well, Hamas is a resistance group in an occupied territory.
They're a terrorist group, Yvonne. Are they terrorists, Yvonne, do you think?
Depending on which part of the world you're sitting in, they're a terrorist organisation or they are freedom fighters. It depends whether you're in the global south or the west.
Do you think October the 7th was justified, Yvonne?
I think that October the 7th has been overhyped. I thought what happened on that day was horrendous, but
How's it been overhyped?
The start of something. It wasn't a 9/11. It wasn't the beginning of something.
It was their 9/11. It was the worst atrocity against the Jews since the Holocaust. It was the worst atrocity against the Jews since the Holocaust.
Of a brutal occupation, and there's a Holocaust going on now in Gaza. We're seeing skeletal figures that we saw in Belsen 80 years ago. Cries of never again, and yet here we are again.
Yeah, release the hostages then. Release the hostages. It could all end. Hamas could stop nicking aid. They could stop the war. They could live in Palestine or in Gaza as they were allowed to do some decades ago when Israel left Gaza and Palestine and said, go on, then crack on with it. But what happened? The rockets kept coming. October the 7th happened. Just a final word, Yvonne. What do you mean it was overhyped? October the 7th.
Well, if you read the Israeli press and the investigations, the first responders misled a lot of media over what actually happened that day. We know that there was slaughter by Hamas, but we also know that the IDF also killed scores of innocent Israelis with this Hannibal directive that has been talked about. It's all in the Israeli media.
Well, they say that's nonsense. The Israeli government say that's absolute nonsense. And, you know, with respect to you, Yvonne, I don't know how you can say, regardless of your side, I'm not a particular, you know, massive Israel bandwagon cheerleader, but when you suffer the biggest atrocity against your people since the Holocaust, you cannot be surprised when an arsenal the size of Israel and the power and the might of Israel hits back, especially when they're still holding hostages. You have to agree with that.
Well, the hostages would have been released last May if Israel hadn't reneged on the deal that had been negotiated by Egypt, by Qatar, and the other brokers who were guaranteeing the release of the hostages. The hostage families know this. This is why they are rising up and protesting as well.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Yvonne. Thank you for your time.
Do you know what, Ben? She's the worst spokesperson for the Gazans that I have seen. And she's trying to defend the indefensible. However, on the general issue, Greta Thunberg is right. I'm a supporter of the state of Israel.
Yeah,
But what is happening is an abomination. You know, men, women and children are being killed and are being starved.
Okay,
and there are statements on the government who are explicitly saying
More front pages back in just a tick. Stay with us.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Amy, how did you get into this beauty stuff?
It's a good story, actually. I moved here years ago. I married a lovely Scotsman, and I was acting for a while, and then I was producing. And while I was producing, I needed a part-time job, and I got a job presenting beauty products at QVC, the shopping channel. And I was given a hair removal device. And although we did millions of pounds of sellout shows, they were oftentimes returned. Not due to my bad selling, but simply because they didn't work or people didn't like the smell of burning hair. And I thought to myself, people want a dermaplaner. They don't want this 250-pound device. So at the time, I was bringing over these dermaplaners from America to the UK because I couldn't find them in store. And then I thought to myself, light bulb moment, let me start manufacturing them because I truly believe everyone needs a dermaplaner in their routine.
A dermaplaner, that's the future.
Dermaplaner.
But you're from America, the US.
Yes, I'm from New York originally.
And don't like to bring this up, Amy, but somebody tells me, I think it's James, our producer, that you were a career criminal back in the day. Is this true? Let's just put this to bed.
Okay, it's semi-true. Career criminal.
Semi-true.
Semi-true.
Okay.
I did get issued a summons.
Okay.
I was a bartender briefly. And I had to do community service for a day. I was issued a summons because there was a sting operation at a bar that I was working in as a bartender. And I served someone underage.
Oh, okay.
The legal drinking age is 21.
21, yeah.
And it was super busy. I didn't look for his license. Next thing I know, I saw a cop flashing his badge. Yeah. And I thought, oh my God, don't you have criminals to arrest, not me?
Proper criminals. But
criminals.
We believe in second chances here on GB News, especially on this channel. This is why we've got you behind the bar, even though you've got a dodgy past. You put that to bed, haven't you?
GB News, the People's Channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. That's State of the Nation every Monday and Tuesday at 8 o'clock, only on GB News, the People's Channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Benleo tonight. Two more front pages have just dropped. Let's start with the Times. Cash boost to fight crime. Police are in line for a spending increase from Reeves after warning Downing Street of stark choices. And the Daily Mirror, donor blood, red alert. There's a call for more blood donation because of a massive shortage. Let's go to LA very quickly. Donald Trump has posted, the president, on his Truth Social account that a once great American city, Los Angeles, has been invaded and occupied by illegal aliens and criminals. Now violent insurrectionist mobs are swarming and attacking our federal agents to try and stop our deportation operations. But these lawless riots only strengthen our resolve. And he goes on to say he's directing the Secretary of Defence, the Attorney General, and so on to get tough with what's going on. He says LA will be liberated from the migrant invasion and put an end to these migrant riots. Order will be restored. Bill Rammell, Adam Brooks was saying he would absolutely love if Keir Starmer or any of our leaders had even just a couple of a fraction of the tenacity and the bravery and courage from that President Trump statement. What do you make of it?
I want to tackle illegal immigration, but I want to tackle it legally. And I think what Donald Trump is doing is deliberately inflaming the situation. Look, none of us know. Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, has said we have enough police resources to tackle this problem. Trump says no. None of us know the truth of that, but my instinct...
I trust Trump.
Well, I don't trust Trump.
Gavin Newsom. I went to San Francisco a few years ago. It's an absolute hellhole. It's the most disgusting city I've ever visited. As soon as Xi Jinping visited San Francisco, Gavin Newsom somehow, with the click of a finger overnight, cleared the city up. He is a far-left radical maniac, Gavin Newsom, who I don't think gives a damn about the good
Trump's
people of America.
far-right radical.
No, let me just say, Trump wants to stop this overnight and within weeks. And the Labour Party want to give it 5 years, and it will be too late in 5 years. This country will be gone.
2019, where he did a similar initiative, 2,000 going to be removed, 35 were removed.
Charlotte,
performative.
Charlotte, what's your take on all this?
Well, I was doing a little bingo card during the advert break. He's obviously used the most inflammatory language there, Trump. And he used the word illegals twice, migrants twice, invasion twice, lawless twice. He is flaming. You know, that statement was incredibly inflaming.
I think the base love it, though, don't they, Chloe?
He knows that. That's exactly how he's done it.
I wouldn't imagine Keir Starmer writing any kind of tweet like Trump there. And look, he's got his way of talking. But I think Trump has done the right thing here. And on this question of can we trust Gavin Newsom, who says, oh, we've got enough people to deal with the situation. I mean, you know, to Ben's point, look what has happened to California. When I was a teenager, my dream was when I was 18 to move to the amazing California. You see all these YouTubers living the life there. Yep. And it has turned into an absolute dump under Gavin Newsom. He can't run the show.
There's a reason that all the maniac far-left blue states, everybody has been moving to the likes of Texas and Florida and all the red states where people live normal lives and they're not corrupted by far-left radical Marxists.
They don't all think they're trans.
Exactly.
You know?
Right, Simon Evans is on standby with headliners. Simon, good evening. What's in store for the viewers tonight?
Hello, Ben. Well, we too will be taking a look at LA, and a fair trigger warning, we may be using inflammatory language such as illegals and migrants. So heads up on that. We'll be discussing Kemi Badenoch and her determination to talk to the face because the hand ain't listening. And we have an interesting little story coming up about Jerry Adams, who is suing chatbots for libel. Good luck with that, Jerry. I seem to remember that was your main stock in trade a few years ago.
Yeah, nice one. Thank you, Simon. Thank you lovely viewers at home for your company tonight. Very much appreciate it. And indeed my panel, Adam, Chloe, Charlotte and Bill. And if you want to listen to GB News on your smart speaker tomorrow or indeed tonight, just say, play GB News on TuneIn. That's it from me. See you next week. Have a good night and a good week. See you soon.
Even though we'll see a cloudy start, it'll be a bright outlook for the rest of the day. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast on the Met Office. Well, the week ahead is set to remain fairly changeable, but one thing what we'll all notice towards the end of the week is it turning increasingly warm and humid. So out there at the moment we do have this area of high pressure trying to build in, and that will kill off most of the showers this evening, giving us fairly lengthy clear skies, especially across many eastern and central parts of the UK. Further west we will continue to see some showers as the night goes on, but under the clear skies it will turn fairly fresh for the time of year. Could also see some mist and fog patches forming, but most towns and cities I think holding up into double figures. So as we start Monday morning off across many southern parts of the UK, it's going to be a fairly cheery start to the day once any early mist and fog patches clear. It could just be the odd shower around, but I think for many southern parts of England and South Wales it should be fairly dry. Maybe an increased risk of showers for Northern England, and then a very different story for Northern Ireland and Scotland here. Increasing cloud through the course of the morning with some outbreaks of rain. Saying that, Eastern Scotland, we will start the day with some sunshine, but make the most of it because the cloud and rain further west will spread its way towards you as we go through the course of the morning. And overall for Scotland and Northern Ireland, it is going to be a fairly cloudy and wet day. That rain heavy at times, and will eventually move into parts of Northern England and the far north of Wales as we move into the afternoon. So it's really going to be the southern parts of the UK what hangs on to the fairly dry and bright weather, and you can see that in the temperatures too. Rather cool in the north, but could see highs reaching 21 in the south. Overnight the rain will clear away, but it will leave behind a fair amount of cloud and some damp weather for southern England and South Wales. But for Scotland and Northern Ireland, and eventually into Northern England too, a much better day with increasing amounts of sunshine here. That will set us up for a fairly dry and bright middle part of the week, but then it turns increasingly warm, humid and potentially thundery for some of us as we end the week ahead.
Even though we'll see a cloudy start, it'll be a bright outlook for the rest of the day. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
We're kick-starting summer with your chance to win our biggest cash prize to date, as there's an incredible £54,321 in tax-free cash to be won. What would you spend it on? A brand new car, the holiday of a lifetime, or just sit back, relax and remove some of those day-to-day financial stresses? For a chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.